Hey folks, Seamus Davis, and I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to you a little bit about my background and some of the cooking I've been doing, as well as the inspiration for some of my cooking.
Cooking with Seamus Davis. Can you smell what's cooking? Cooking with Seamus Davis. Can you smell what's cooking?
You know, I started cooking when I was a young man back in New Zealand for first part of the time, and then on the coast, Brisbane in Australia, and then moved over to England for a little while, and also north coast of Morocco. Boy, let me tell you what, Morocco's a crazy place. Monkeys and green-lipped mussels everywhere you look, and I loved it. There's a lot of background, and I don't have the time to get into it, but I want to talk to you a little bit about the 4 dishes that I had going on the other day in my cooking show with you. Remember, we started out with oysters on the half shell, and we did a mignonette sauce with that. For those of you that don't remember mignonette, it's cute in French. Gorgeous word there. And then after that, we went to some fresh Thai basil spring rolls that were gorgeous. Maybe they were Vietnamese. Maybe they were Thai or Cambodian or Samoan. I can't remember. But they were spring rolls and they were fresh. And they were gorgeous. And then after that, we moved on to a rare ahi tuna, which was pan-seared and sesame crusted, and it was gorgeous. Pan-seared and sesame crusted. And all 4 dishes are dear to me. All 4 dishes come from my background, traveling around the world and seeing the places that I've seen and being with the people that I've been with. And that's why I chose those 4 dishes. And today I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about those dishes and a little more about my background, those places and that food. This is an ultrasound picture, and I could probably pull it off, but this is one of the early ultrasound pictures ever recorded, and the baby there is actually myself, and I keep that around to remind myself of how little I once was, really tiny. So, I was born in Shrewsbury, New South Wales, just off the coast there by Christchurch, not too far away from there. A lot of people say, where are you from? And I bounced around. You know, I was here and I was there, hither and yon. And I want to tell you a little bit about how that relates to the dishes that we've been talking about here. And the first thing I want to talk to you a little bit about, of course, are the oysters with the mignonette sauce. First time I got, well, let me tell you about this, what I've got right here. These are, I've collected pebbles from every beach I've been to in the world, and I've probably got about 50,000 of them in here because I've been everywhere. But these pebbles, and I can tell you this one right here is Portugal, and this orangish one is New South Wales and Brisbane, and I got this one right here off the Great Barrier Reef. So they're from all over the world. But when it comes down to the oysters, my real passion, you can see there's this white rock right here, and I got that down off an area of Christchurch where there's got a lot of green-lipped mussels. I want to start off here with this gentleman here is old Forbes relative from the Highlands of Scotland, and he's in his full-on regalia there, which was just off of a recent hunt, and they got probably about 30 to 40,000 foxes. When I was a small boy, I remember being in a rowboat off the coast of Christchurch, and we'd been fishing for oysters and mussels all day long, and I pulled the boat in and I brought it up to shore, and I remember how the sand was laid out in front of me, and I remember an old man came over, and I had a pile of oysters and mussels in the boat there, and I was going to take them and really sell them to some of the local villages and also bring them home to my own house, and we were going to prepare dinner. And he gave me something that day, and I've had it with me ever since. He gave me this, which he called an oyster hammer. And I've had this oyster hammer since then. You can see it's got a feature on the back there, and it's an old wood, teak wood, ancestral wood right there, and on the front there it's got a beveled golden gliss in there, and it's an oyster hammer. And they've only ever made probably about 13 of these in the world, and this is one of them, and he gave it to me and he died that day, right after he gave it to me. And so I felt like it was a passing of this hammer to me and a passing away for him. So I've got it, and this is an important hammer, and I didn't use it during the oyster preparation that you saw on TV. But if you needed to, you could take this and really give an oyster a good wallop on the back, or you could flip it around and take it and bash in the back of the muscle and break it open like that if you had to do that. So that's something I wanted to share with you. It's I just remember that man. I remember that he gave me that oyster hammer. This is always been a big fan of this painting. This was painted by an African. Her name was Elizabeth Mayang Elango, and she put this together. She had a dream one night, and she woke up and she painted it and she gave it to me, and she thought that's what I looked like a little bit, I think. But it gives me always a touch of inspiration when I look at that painting and I think about the creativity and the inspiration that comes from the human spirit, and it's great. You know, one of my favourite dishes that I've ever made is a seared ahi tuna with a sesame coating on the outside and seasonal seeds. And I've had the opportunity to share that dish with you in the cooking show, and I want to talk to you about the background of that dish briefly. I was on a coast in southeastern Spain, and what I was doing there was we were filming some shows, and we were also looking for some deep sea life that was going to go great in addition, and ultimately what we got was a lot of tuna fish, and it was really very fresh tuna fish. And when I got back to the seashore, there was an old man there, and I'll just think back about it, and I wonder to myself, you know, how different my life would be now if I hadn't met that old man. And what he told me was, every dish you create, Seamus, and he looked me right in the eyes and he said, Seamus, every dish you create is like a jewel. It's like a gemstone. And I want you to consider that dish to be that valuable and that precious. And so he handed me a string of valuable gemstones. And he put this on my neck that day. And ever since that day, I consider every single dish that I make, whether it's seared ahi tuna, oysters on the half shell, or fresh spring rolls, to be a jewel, an emerald in its own right. And that's what this is. This necklace right here is probably worth about $75,000 on a good day. Got an old painting from my grandmother and a poster from Greece. We were in Greece working on some different dishes in Santorini. You know, I want to tell you a little bit about the inspiration for the Vietnamese fresh spring rolls. I was living for about 3 years in Amsterdam in the Netherlands, and you can see I brought my license plate from the Netherlands. Used to have this out front of me buggy, and it was a great buggy. But really the inspiration for that dish was a hash fish dish. And that's where we came up with the idea for the fresh spring rolls. And I'd love to share with you more of the background of that dish here coming up. But once again, I told you, it was in the Netherlands there. You can see European Union size, and it was a hash fish dish. Gorgeous piece of food in the Netherlands. Another one of those jewels that I'm telling you that the old man told me about. Great dish.
Action. Sorry.
And it's really not about a cooking show, you know. It's about a cooking show, and it's about covering the World Cup soccer tournament, and it's about covering golf courses, and it's about watching the children grow, and it's about education, and it's about any number of passions I have in my life. So it's not just cooking. But remember that string of jewels that the old man gave me before he passed on. All of these different opportunities I consider to be jewels in my own life. And so whether it's a seared ahi tuna, or it's the World Cup soccer tournament down in Brazil, or Rio de Janeiro, or Sao Paulo, or Recife, all these great events are events that I want to be a part of in my life. And so by proxy, I want you to be a part of that with your life. And so it's your life and my life coming together with my wife. Together, you know, and we merge. and it's a great way to live. One of my favourite of all time trips was in Biarritz in the southwestern coast of France, and the French always have a great saying when they're going to leave you, but maybe you're going to see each other again. They say, "À la prochaine fois," which means next time around I'll see you. So from my studio here, it's Seamus Davis. I can't be happier to share this stuff with you. Hope you come along next time. We've got some terrific dishes lined up and some great events. Thanks for joining me. Seamus Davis, here, all the time.
Cooking with Seamus.